wearing the earrings, they got the tattoos. I mean, they don't look anything godly about them. And Christians are now becoming ungodly by their lifestyle. They don't want to stand out. They don't want to be seen by people because it's weird. But God says the very thing that we should be peculiar to them. Not in a bad way, but in a godly way. Where they look at you and they say, man, there's something different in you. I mean, as you're walking down the hall, you don't have to be close to them. They can just see your demeanor walking down the hall, your facial expression. I've been showing our kids at school a video clips on this guy named Nick Vujicic. You may have seen him on YouTube before. Yeah. I'm going to show you one clip next week. He's a man that was born without any arms and any legs. I don't want to give the whole thing away because I want you to see it. But he said this one thing. He said, the longer I live this way, the more I realize that if I could have my choice, I wouldn't even want arms and legs. Because I find that if I did have those things, I would still be empty. Because the only thing that can give you peace is God. And that's the very thing our country has left today. And we get to a point, and we're already getting there, where we're going to be down on our backs, folks. When the country start to attack us. China's already taking our money. Yeah. Now it's only a matter of time before people start overthrowing us. We're teaming up with people, and I'm telling you, it's going to happen. And we have left God, folks. And so God's will demand for purity and godliness is what we need, folks. A distinctive line of godly believers. We see also that the human race was losing its godly line of believers. Practically everyone was living in an ungodly and immoral life, doing their own thing, living like he wished. Hardly any person followed God. Hardly any person lived the separated godly life. The godly non-believers, the godly seed of Seth, was now corrupted. Look at Romans again, chapter 1. I want to show you something here in verse 18. I want to show you one verse here. Hold your finger in Genesis. I forgot to tell you that. You lost it. Just say, hold on.
Oh.
Gotcha.
118. 118.
You get Romans 1:18. We've seen this many times before. But I want to show you something here. We see this in Noah's day. It says, for the wrath of God is what? Revealed from where? Heaven. That means he sees all things. Just like he said there in the book of Genesis, I see all things against all ungodliness and what? Unrighteousness of men who hold the truth in unrighteousness. Now what do you think that means? That hold the truth in unrighteousness? What does that mean?
They know the truth, they know the gospel, but they still choose.
Yeah. People know about God. Like I said, there's no such thing as an atheist. Everybody knows that God exists. And just the mere fact that you know that God exists, you can make a choice just from that mere fact. You can pray this prayer, God, I know you're there, and if you're there, show yourself to me. And God will do that. But when you know there's a God, and you say, you know what, I don't want to have anything to do with God, I don't want to be accountable to a God, and you turn from that God, and now you've been left to your own demise. And so we see that here in this verse. We see here that 19, that because that when what they made known of God is manifest in them. Now for those who say they can be atheists, this verse proves that there is no atheist. It says, because it says here, for God has showed it unto them, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are what? Clearly seen. Being understood by the things that are what? Made. So when you see the mountains, when you see the skies, when you see these things, does man look at those things and say, oh, they just magically appear? Or does man know those things have been made just by what they see?
They've been made.
Do you? It's obvious that these things have been made. Nobody can create that. I've never seen anybody do it, and neither has any other man. But they know they had to be made by their design. They have a function to them. Just like if I had a watch on right now, you would know somebody made that watch. It just didn't happen. And so the Bible says that man knows by what they see. The invisible things of creation that there is a God. That's called general revelation. We talked about that before. We read verse 20 before. It says in verse 21, we'll read it again. And I want to skip down. I want to show you something here. Verse 21, it says, because with that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were they thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart were darkened. I know I already mentioned this, but what does it mean when it says they became vain in their imaginations? What does the word vain mean?
Empty.
Useless. Now how does that tie into this? Useless imaginations.
Not thinking.
I mentioned some imaginations by certain people earlier. What did I mention? Who imagined things? Huh? Who imagine things? What kind of people imagine things all the time as far as coming up with new things?
Inventors.
Inventors, scientists. Now, why are their inventions vain?
Because they want the credit.
Well, they want the glory, but why are they vain when it comes to eternity, say?
Also, they can say we don't need God.
It won't last.
Yeah, that's for eternity. They come up with all these ways to configure new things, but it won't last for eternity. But look what happens to this person who does that. See, it's one thing if I want to do something good to help people, but when I do it with the heart that I don't need God, I can do this on my own, then the next step happens here. It says, but became vain in imagination, and their foolish heart was darkened. Now look what happened to most men. It says in verse 22, professing themselves to be what? Wise. They what? became food. Because now they're at the point where they shut themselves off completely from God. I don't need God. If there's anything I need, I can make it myself. I can do it myself. We'll figure it out eventually with enough study and research. All we need is more money, and we'll figure it out. And so these people that we look up to, men of renown, we highly esteem them for their great intelligence, but they've totally excluded God. When they stand up before that podium after a surgery, they don't give God the glory. Why? Because they want people to glory in them. They'll have their day. And so the Bible says that right here. We'll skip down to verse 28 and we'll see what goes. Look at verse 26. It says, for this cause God gave them up unto what? Vile affections. For even their women did change in natural use unto that which is against nature. By the way, people are not born homosexual. They're born men, they're born women. Did you know this? That the average person becomes homosexual because, number one, they were either recruited. You know that homosexuals actually go out and recruit? I've seen it happen on my job where a secretary who's homosexual will go out and recruit a coach in the gym. And it actually do that. And they say, well, try this out. I've seen it where when you're raised in a home where usually there's a father figure that's not there. Or either he is there, but he's not really present, you know what I mean? He doesn't run that family as far as spiritually. He's not a spiritual leader. I've seen kids who've been raised up in that situation and feel that not having that father figure there, that they need to turn to homosexuality. It's proven in statistics, but no one is born a homosexual. That's a lot of devil's hell. They're just not. The Bible says that when we turn away from God, we begin to have these affections. Look at what it says in verse 26, the last part. It says, and even the women did change in natural use into that which is against nature. Verse 27, and likewise also what? The men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat. I believe with all my heart that the AIDS and HIV virus came about because of homosexuality. It's a temporal punishment for homosexuals. I really believe that. Now, does God hate homosexuals? No, he doesn't. But he hates what they do. Look at verse 28. And even as they did not like to what? Let's look at that again. Let's read it together. And even as they did not like to retain what? God in their knowledge. There you go. Isn't that what we've been talking about all night tonight? God saw that the imaginations of their minds and hearts was what? Only wicked continually. Did not want to retain God. Anytime I hear something about God, you got people in your school like that. As soon as you mention God or go to church, what do? I don't want to hear, don't talk about God around me. If you want to hang out with me, don't talk about God. And we, okay. We run along with them. Instead of standing up for God. You need God in your life. Without Him, you're nothing. I'm nothing. Instead of saying something like that. We see people like that all throughout our schools, everywhere in society. They don't have anything to do with God. And look what it says here in verse 28. And even if they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind. That means they couldn't even fathom the things of God, even appreciate God. That's a sad place to be, to do those things which are not convenient. I'm sure, Patricia, when you go out and sing, you see young ladies who do just as good as you do, but they say they don't need God because they're talented. And you can then turn around and say, well, I know I need God. He gave me these abilities. There's a difference in that attitude. But you see, God doesn't even have to punish somebody with an ungodly mindset. All God has to do, okay, you want to go that lifestyle? You don't think you need me? All God has to do is take his hands off that person, and they'll automatically self-destruct. He didn't even have to punish them, because their sins are naturally going to take them to self-destruction. Mm-hmm. It's just a natural cause. Sin plus sin equals destruction. That's all there is to it. And so we see that in the Bible. So let's go back to the book of Genesis real quickly. We'll have to wrap it up. I want you guys just to see this, what God is dealing with here, what his heart is like. In verse 11 in Genesis 6, let's get verse 11 and 12. It all starts with our reverence for God. When we say fear God, what do we mean by fear God? Do we mean our knees need to be shaken? No, that's not the right thing. What does it mean to fear God? It means what, Nathan? Yeah, go ahead.
Like to obey every command he has, otherwise he can, like that.
Okay, but what does it mean to fear God? To respect him and reverence him, exactly. It's a healthy fear. Now, it doesn't mean that we should not ultimately be afraid of him, because I'm afraid of God. When I stand before him, I'm going to be scared. My knees are going to be knocking. But that's not the kind of fear we're talking about. Now, my son, he reverences me. Hey, Dad, how you doing? It takes him about 10 minutes in the morning to wake up. And at first, I kept getting mad because you got to see me standing here, son. And I would get mad at him all the time. And then I figured out it takes him 10 minutes to wake up. I mean, he's literally like a walking zombie. He'll walk in the kitchen. He'll sit down. Of course, he'd be teaching the pours on cereal, but he waits on people to wait on him. Man, what would it be like to be a kid again? He's just sitting there, and my wife comes with a pours of cereal, our form of cereal, and he sits there. You want milk? Man, teenagers like that too, amen. They get back into that mode again, you know. They want to be all independent. They feel like when they figure out that's not fun to be independent, that it actually means responsible, they go back into that mode. You know what I mean? I do that too myself, amen. And so, you know, and it took me a while to realize that he's not trying to be, he doesn't reverence me. It's not about respecting me. He's just not awake. And then 10 minutes later, you go, hey, Dad, how you doing? Did you get good sleep? He's like a totally different kid, you know. And then there's those other kids. They're the other extreme. They all jib, hey, you know, so you know. I don't want those kind of either. Like, anyway, in Genesis chapter 6, look at verse 11. It says here that the earth also was corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with what? Violence. In verse 12, and God looked upon the earth, and behold, it was what? Corrupt. Now, I looked that word up, and what that word corrupt means in the Hebrew, it means ruined, wasted, spoiled, or decayed. Anybody ever ate any food like that when you open your refrigerator? Decayed, spoiled. You like that kind of milk, by the way?
Nope.
It's not good, is it? So when God looked at the earth, He basically looked down and said, "There's no one. Everybody's useless to me. There's no one who's serving the purpose that I created them for. I cannot use them. Simply cannot use them. So I must destroy the world." He didn't want to. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But He had no choice. Everything was ruined and wasted and spoiled. There was nothing left. For all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. In Psalms 1:7 it says, "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." Psalms 14:1, "The fool hath said in his heart, there is what? No God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works." Now what do you notice in correlation there? The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. And immediately when he says that, look what the next part of the verse says. It says, they are corrupt. They have done abominable works. What follows immediately when a person says there is no God? What follows immediately?
Sin.
What? Sin follows. Let's say it together. When a person says there is no God, sin follows. Let's say it again. When a person says there is no God, sin follows. Automatically. They're making a decision. And therefore that person becomes a fool. I want to show you one scripture, and then we'll probably have to go ahead and close. I really wanted to get to where God repented, He made man. I really wanted to get to that, but I won't. But in Hebrews chapter 11, let's look there real quickly. Let's look at what, because we want to get to the point where we see how Noah was successful. And I'm going to give you the first step tonight to show you how Noah was successful in this situation. It says in Hebrews 11, this is what we call the Hall of Faith of those who've gone before us. In verse 7, look what it says here. It says by what? Faith. Now there's two things I'm going to give you here that was the secret to Noah's success. I'm going to give you more next week. But the first thing is what we call what? Faith. Now why is faith important if you're going to live for God in the midst of the world you live in today? Why is that so important? What is faith and why is it important? Are there going to be times where you're going to seem like everything's going bad and nothing's going your way, or you're not going to be feeling right? Are you going to ever be that way?
Yep.
So what are you going to need? Faith what?
Faith in God.
Faith in God what? That you can depend on Him, that He's going to see you through. Don't follow your emotions. So Noah did not follow his what? Emotions. He followed the facts. Amen. God said He was going to destroy the world. The rest of the world laughed at that fact, but Noah followed it, and they were fools. Amen. You get it? Don't let the world around you control your emotions. Let the Bible control your emotions. So first he had faith. He followed God's facts, not his emotions. Look at the next part. It says here, by faith, Noah, being warned of God of things not seen as yet. By the way, that's faith. You haven't seen God destroy the earth, but He will one day. You haven't seen heaven and hell, but they are there. Because as soon as you die, you go right into the eternal world. As soon as your eyes are shut, your heart stops beating. You leave this world, and your soul goes to the eternal world. And it says here, he had not seen these things, so we know it was true faith. It says he moved with what? Fear. Number two. Number one, he had to have tremendous faith, but in his God, not anyone else. Had to have faith in God, not friends. And number two, in the facts, he had to have fear. See, what everybody else lacked in the world was fear. They just simply did not reverence God. They did not like to retain God in their knowledge. So therefore, their foolish heart were darkened. They became vain in their imagination. Vain meaning their thoughts were useless against the powerful God. It didn't matter what they thought. It mattered what the Bible said. And they were destroyed. Noah had never seen anything like this in his life, and neither had anybody else, but he simply trusted God. It's really that simple, folks. You believe the Bible, or you don't. You either live for God, or you don't. It's really that simple. And when you live for God, that's the easy way. Because by faith, God is going to use you in a tremendous way. But you got to first learn to trust in Him. Don't trust in your little friends. Don't even trust in your family. Trust in your faith. Trust in Him. Let's pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, so much for your word.